After the last update, many people thought that Meteor Golems, especially regarding the Sneezy nerf, will become much harder to play. And yes, the Meteor Golems itself were nerfed. But if I'm being honest, I haven't noticed this change at all. Now regarding the Fireball Meteorgolem army, which the guide is for, there are 3 more balance changes which I have to consider. The totem nerf doesn't really matter to the strategy, because you will either use your lock launcher or your tube launcher. The totem nerf is only relevant for setting up flame flingers. Now regarding the balance changes for the guardians, like the long shot and the smasher, they are there, but to be honest, you don't really notice them as well. The only change that really comes into play when playing Fireball Meteorgolems is the Sneezy nerf, because you don't have a warn ability to protect your healers when you need it. And this guide is to show you how to play Fireball Meteorgolems now after the balance changes as safely as possible and as efficient as possible. Obviously, the Fireball is a major part in this army. And I don't want to tell you all the details you should know, because a couple of weeks ago, I uploaded a Fireball guide which included everything. So if you struggle with that, make sure to check that out. The core concept of this strategy is very simple. You play a short warn walk with the Fireball to set the funnel, then you pull with your queen and add Meteor Golems to it. You play your entry with a lock launcher or a tube launcher to support your smash. You use your king on the outside to push the tubes into the core, and your warrior champion you use in between the king and the smash. And whenever you feel the need, you can use your overgrowth to create pathing and to reduce the incoming damage. The most important thing you have to keep in mind is the pathing. It's always about the pathing. Meteor Golems can target any building, so they can target storages, defenses, or trash buildings on the outside. So setting up a good funnel where all the Meteor Golems stay together and move around the base is crucial for success. As I already mentioned, I want to keep the Fireball section as short as possible. But there are still some rules I want to show you. Most of the time you want to play short warn walks, roughly between 30 seconds and a minute. Sometimes, however, you can even play an instant Fireball and go from there. Just keep in mind you have to set a funnel. Now in the army composition I have linked down in the video description, you won't have an ice block spell to fix your warden. So use your Fireball only when the warden is targeting a non-defensive, ideally high HP building such as storages or the hero hall. Don't go for a complicated warn walk or Fireball because the Meteor Golems are so tanky and deal so much damage. Choose simple and safe approaches where you are most likely to succeed with creating the pathing you want. There's a common way at the moment in Legends League to make the Fireball setup as hard as possible. Most of the time in rage setups, behind the rage, so closer towards the core, are placed storages that won't go down with the Fireball. And as you may know, Meteor Golems target as well storages. So you have to keep that in mind and maybe sometimes even adjust your plan according to it. So either you play the Fireball for example, a rage section, and then warn walk the storages behind it, or you just play a different entry where the storages don't really matter. And because this army is so popular, many people in Legends are trying to bait it. The 2 common ways to defend this army is A, to trap the warrior champion pathing with bombs so that she dies quickly, especially the fox, and B, to kill the healers with wet bombs or seeking air mines because of missing Cocoloons. Now the question is, how can you minimize the risk? Well, if you have the option and the possibility, and it is a symmetrical base, try to play your warden opener on the more uncommon side. Most of the players are playing with their right hand, so entries from the bottom right of the screen are most likely baited. And the second option is to delay your warrior champion a bit, if you feel like the entry could be baited. Delaying your warrior champion gives you the opportunity to play her from a different angle and thus dodging some bombs. Now let's talk about the healers. If you look at my army composition, I'm not using 5 Meteor Golems, instead I'm using 4 so that I can use more support troops. And those include more Cocoloons and Rocket Loons, which can be used to scout for traps. Now especially with the Rocket Loons you are very flexible. You should use them to scout for traps because they move so quickly forward and can trigger a lot of air bombs. Then to make your Fireball setup easier, you can take out buildings on the outside, or sometimes when the rage setup or poison towers are very far on the outside, you can pull them as well. I believe a big mindset rule is to keep your heroes alive. If you must choose between Meteor Golems and heroes, use your spells or whatever you still have left to keep your heroes alive. Now for the overgrowth, you want to go for 2 parts at the same time. You want to go for pathing and for damage reduction. If you talk about the heroes, you obviously use 4 ground heroes. You have the king on the outside, which is always there to clear up buildings and tank for your warrior champion. Ideally you use the snake bracelet and the spiky ball, but if needed you can replace the snake bracelet with the earthquake boots. For the queen you ideally use the action figure and the magic mirror. If you only have one of them, you can just use the healer puppet. Now for the warden you obviously need the fireball and the rage gem. This is the combination which cannot be changed at all. And if you want to use the fireball with the maximum range, the fireball has to be on level 24 or higher. Now for the Warrior Champion, it is not that trivial which equipment you should use. If you face more double rage bases, use the Frostwake to act like another ward ability. If you face more bases with isolated defenses in the core, like Mortars or Revenge Towers, which is as well the current meta, use the Rocket Spear. Otherwise, you always want to use the Electro Boots for the self-healing. If you only have one epic equipment, just use the Hog Rider Puppet for the second slot. Now after all these basic rules, let's talk about the exceptions, because for every army there are exceptions. If you play a long Warden Walk where you have to at least invest over 1 minute into it, or you have to walk a long way around the base, you can use your King and your Warrior Champion on the other side to clear up the base from two sides. The advantage is that it's quicker. However, the disadvantage is that you have less power. Now on some bases, you can play your Queen with your Wand together to help with time and use your Fireball then towards the core. But again, this is a very niche situation for only diamond style teaser bases. You need to have a big Fireball behind the Town Hall, and you want to use your Queen to speed up your Warden so that you don't have to invest so much time. And I said you should go always for the simple Fireball. But again, there's an exception. On some bases, you need to play your Fireball towards the core. Those are most of the time anti-2 bases with the Town Hall in the middle and a big heavy rage setup and a big dead zone around it. For this case, you can use the Overgrowth to set up your Fireball more easily. Now let's get into some bases, and I will explain you precisely how to tackle each base style. For this base, this is a very common setup which was used a couple of weeks ago. This was the first version of those teaser style bases to provoke 1-stars. With the isolated Town Hall, maybe 1 or 2 defenses behind, and then the Fire Spitters pointing both towards the Town Hall and all the wards around it. And what I noticed here on this base is I can get insane Fireball value if I either go on the Expo, which would be 1 Invis, or on the Fire Spitter with the Fireball, which would be 2 or 3 Invis, but I get the 1 Poison spell, the Super Wizard Tower, the Clan Castle, the Expo, and 1 Multi-Archer Tower out of the way. Those 2 buildings are like my Fireball targets, which I could use if I find a good opener. Where for the Expo, I can just turn this invisible and place my Warden from here with the Fireball. Maybe I have to take out the Mortar or turn it invisible as well. Now for the Fireball and the Fire Spitter, I can just turn with 3 invisibility spells, those defenses invisible, and play my Fireball from this side, locking onto the Fire Spitter. What you could do as well is play a Warden from the bottom side, looking for some Tethers like Loons or Archers. When the Warden locks on towards the Town Hall and takes out the Longshot guy, maybe even use an invisibility spell on this side where you want to play a Warden, if he just goes to this Archer Tower, you can just use an invisibility spell to redirect him towards the Town Hall. The Warden goes here, locks onto the Town Hall, and then you have time to play your Fireball. You could turn this, and this invisible. Maybe you have to turn this one invisible, and then you can play your Fireball as well onto the Fire Spitter. The positive aspect of this entry is you get the Town Hall out quite quickly, and you set up a good pathing as well. Now the problem I had with this plan on this type of base specifically is because the Revenge Tower and the Mortar was behind the Town Hall. If I Warden Walk the Town Hall with my Warden and play the Fireball, and then for the Fireball, for example, on this section again, and then go in from this side, the problem I have is that the Revenge Tower and the Mortar is still standing. I could just play my World Champion on it, and this would have probably worked as well, but I decided not to. So for those base starts, you can just either walk your Warden for the Town Hall and play your Fireball somewhere behind it, or what I chose to do, because nobody is baiting that, play your Fireball on the target you want them to go, and then going in far side. Nobody's baiting that. That's why it works. But even if you don't want to go that risky, I would say, after this Fireball, you can basically just go in towards the Town Hall with the Lock Launcher as well, and then probably Overgrowth quite early, like this probably, the blue one, to force your troops around the Fire Spitter so that the Fire Spitter don't do that much damage. And the troops are when the Overgrowth runs out, close towards the Fire Spitter, behind the Fire Spitter. So both of them work. For the attack, I just decided to go for this Fire Spitter with the Fireball, take out all of this with the Fireball from here, and then going in from the far side with my Tube Launcher. I obviously don't need a Lock Launcher from here. I could play it from the top. Yeah, I agree. But again, what walls should the Lock Launcher open? If I play the Lock Launcher, I want to open specific walls. And my Lock Launcher from the top won't open those walls, and they won't probably be that effective if they are open, just because my troops are now, after moving around the base, standing here, and they won't see this wall opening here. So even if my log launcher goes far enough, I don't need those walls opened. That's just why I played the tube launcher here, and let's see how that went. Now, as you can see already from the time, there's a lot of time left still after the attack. I just dropped some archers to see for traps, to look for traps like Teslas, messing up my fireball, play the 3 Invis, and play my fireball. Perfect pathing. I didn't get the archer tower because I used my earthquakes not that well. But I guess that's fine, because I will just still go in towards that quickly and it won't do that much damage. I just one walk a bit. I would love to get those 2 defenses out of the way just to clear even more of the pathing. I think I will just use rocket loons for that. I will pull my queen and my warden with my queen towards the top, because yeah, I just want clear pathing and I don't want my troops to go towards the bottom, so that's why I pull my warden as far as possible to the right side as possible. As you can see, I'm using some rocket loons on the bomb tower and then playing my Meteorgolems there. Now I'm just moving around the base and I notice those mortars are covering the monolith, yes, but only from one side, and if I play my skeleton like basically on towards the king plateau or the king banner, it basically tanks everything. And that's what I decided to do. If you are going against the bomb pipe, try to place your totems always in the range of the bomb pipe, where the bombs basically goes, so that your troops won't deal that much or get that much damage. And as you can see, the queen, like everything moving around the base, the queen can even reach the bomb pipe, and the skeleton spell tanking beautifully at the top. And then it's just, yeah, a big wave around the base. With the tube launcher, your healers are safe from behind. As you can see, those red bombs and those seeking air mines are getting triggered by all those loons from the tube launcher. And yeah, your heroes are safe, your troops are safe. The fire splitter won't do much, the poison did nothing, basically. That's why you use the booger, basically, because as you can see, the booger is low, flying in the poison range, and this one, I think, triggered as well the rage. So in the end, look at my spells, look at my abilities which I have left, and it's a complete overkill. Look at the troops I have left. It's crazy. I just pop here my Royal Champion because I could have just overgrowth the Revenge Tower in the Towner section. Yes, I agree, to take out the Guardian like on its own. But I wanted to like let my Royal Champion snipe out the Revenge Tower. That's why I use currently the Rocket Spear on my Royal Champion, because on isolated bases where you have like isolated compartments with like single multi-infernos, like multi-infernos alone, not single infernos, but multi-infernos standing on its own, or like Revenge Towers, the spear just gives you so much flexibility with delaying your Royal Champion there and like popping the spear, and you can snipe out beautifully everything. As you can see, complete overkill. I swag my Overgrowth and an invisibility spell, and that's how you do it. Now this is a base where I notice I can make an exception to the rules. The most obvious fireball is somewhere around the rage setup, but if you look at the sweeper, for example, you know already the people try to bait it or like defend it, and yeah, like you can play the fireball and then going in from the far side with your lock launcher. So basically taking out the section with the fireball, play your lock launcher from this side. You always want to play it towards the side which your troops are going. So if you're playing a fireball on the right and your troops are going towards the left, you want to play your lock launcher a bit more towards left from 6 o'clock seeing, like towards this side, because your troops are standing closer, this compartment to the left. So you want to open those walls as close as possible to the troops. Now if I take this back, you can play this entry for sure. But the problem with this entry is, in the core, you have 3 mortars in the bomb hive, you have 2 fire splitters facing towards the core, and then you have, which I hate, you won't see that in esports because the clan castle is just swagged out there, but in Legends it works, an outside clan castle on the top with all those 4 heroes around. And this is like the setup to provoke monsters. Just because there's so much damage on the back end, and ice golems coming out of the clan castle keep your heroes so stuck, or like your meteor golems and your heroes so stuck for so long, that the heroes and the long shot can like take out everything. That's why I don't like those kind of entries on those type of bases where you have so much around the town hall. Now on this base, I said I want to make an exception to the rule, and that's basically what I'm doing here. What I notice here is I can use my queen with my warden and some healers and some support spells like skeleton spell or totems and the poison to basically take out all the 4 heroes, the long shot and the clan castle, like all of this stuff here at the top for free, basically, just to invest some time and some few spells. And then if I deploy my fireball on this monolith, I get 2 mortars, the bomb pipe, and the monolith, which is good value and sets up a good pathing. Obviously, the storages won't go down, but again, this is something you just have to keep in mind. And if troops are like going to the wrong direction, you can just use an overgrowth to redirect them if necessary. Now, how do I play this then? I use an ice golem instantly so that all the CC troops coming out will go towards the ice golem. I can then poison them, and then I can use my queen and my warden safely behind it. And when the ice golem like throws everything inside, I can just deploy my lock launcher from this side to open up the tunnel compartment. Playing this entry is also the reason why I have 2 warbackers in my army composition, because sometimes you want to let your queen go inside of the tunnel compartment and then warback her out on one of the corners. Now, as I'm doing this, basically my queen will lock onto the tunnel and my warden will stay behind. The tunnel is again my anchor, and then I can use, because the one wizard tower will go down from the queen, I can take out one wizard tower with my rocket loons, and then I can use 2 invisibility spells because my warden will stand somewhere around here, and my fireball will lock on to the monolith, and I get a good fireball. Now, what do I do afterwards? I get this fireball, I get this pathing here. Basically, all the storages are still left. Let's just assume they are gone. I just let my queen decide where she wants to go. So if I warback her in, she will either go towards this side, I can warback her out, or go towards this side, I can warback her out again. And then I would just use my meteor golems to add my queen and add that to the queen smash around the base, all around here. Because I already had a good sun setup, I can use my king and my world champion, like my king on the outside, my world champion, obviously, as I said, in between. If you still have a skeleton spell left, you can use that. But basically, a skeleton spell here on the bottom basically tanks, 2 expos, the mortar cannon and the revenge tower for like an eternity. But otherwise, totems are still working on this base. You have like, after the opener, probably 2 or 3 minimum left. So just using them and move around the base is so good. What I notice here as well, that's why I have me rocket loons as well in my army. Those rage setups are so far on the outside. If you get 1 rocket loon on the ricochet cannon on either side, you will trigger the rage. I go into 1 rage setup early, can use 1 totem or 2 totems to tank it. And then the other one, I just make it useless just by triggering the rage early. Now, after all this planning, let's see how that went. As you can see already with the time, the ice golem is placed at 2 minutes 32 left. It was a triple. And because I used my king and my world champion on with the smash, you can see there was not a time issue at all. Now I can use my ice golem early. Again, it freezes the headhunters coming out of the clan castle. I can poison them early. I will deploy my queen. In a minute, my warden and my healers. As you can see, the poison just gets so much value just by keeping all those heroes in it for so long. And triggering, if you trigger skeleton spells, traps, you just take them out easily as well. And then 1 skeleton spell basically tanks all the heroes. There's no mortar nearby, and you don't need much spells. And if you're lucky, sometimes the diggy even stuns some heroes, as you can see here. Now I'm just patient. It takes some time just to get all the heroes out of the way, obviously, but it is most of the time really worth it if you have a fireball behind the town hall, which you can abuse. Now I just wait for my queen to take out the other queen. She locks onto the town hall, and then I didn't even bother to take out the wizard tower with rocket loons. I just use an extra invisibility spell because I had the spells and hadn't thought about taking that down quite early, and just have missed it. Otherwise I would just have probably taken it down and saved me 1 spell. But I hadn't. Just play my fireball. The queen is still locked onto the town hall, so the warden stays safe behind. Then from the timing, which I played the fireball, or how I played the fireball, the queen walks out of the town hall compartment, which is awesome. So that I don't have to warback out. I will just use the earthquakes to damage the most amount of buildings I could get. You have to be always careful with ricochet cannons, and if you play your queen and your warden together, because the ricochet cannon will bounce onto your warden, and your healers are... The healer AI is sometimes a bit questionable, I would say. And then again, you don't have to use your lock launcher here, just because what value could the lock launcher bring? Because the lock launcher targets the town hall, and it only brings value if you basically go far side or get good value with the lock launcher, and that's not here the case. Adding my meteor golems to the smash, adding my troop launcher as well, and using 1 rocket loon to scout for traps early so that my healer stays safe. As you can see, the tube launcher opening some walls. I could have used the wall breaker here, but I didn't need to. And then I delayed my world champion here a bit, just because I want her to live as long as possible. And I don't want her to like run in front and take out or tank all the damage. As you can see, I haven't paid attention to it when I did it, but I triggered the rage setup within Rocket Loon. I had 2 Rocket Loons left, now I have only 1. And now, when my troops are there, the rage is gone, the rage effect is gone, and they just, smash through that like butter. Now I pop my queen to just get as quickly as possible through the revenge tower and get as much damage output as possible. As you can see, the rage is like, gone. My troops just move around the base. I use an Overgrowth here for like cleaner purposes in the first place, because taking or like getting the archer tower here out of the way makes it possible so that my minion and Rocket Loon can take down the wizard tower, and my Boga could take down the storage, and as well for pathing and damage reduction, because my troops will go in towards the backhand fire splitter, and just getting that out of the way is so much, it is quite nice to get that out of the way. As you can see, just popping the abilities, I have so many troops left, and 1 fire splitter can't defend all that, and that's a big triple. Now I still have so many Meteorgolems left, it's completely crushed, and those type of bases are designed so that you can wall walk the town hall and then fireball behind, just because the wall walk would take so long. But you can just outsmart them by playing your queen with your wand together and use some spells to keep up the pace and try to play your fireball as quickly as possible afterwards. This is the next base, and as you can see already, you have very limited fireball value. Everything is spread out widely, and what I noticed here at the beginning, there are 2 heroes at the town hall and like good value, and I was like, I could play my queen and my warden, as I've already shown the hit before, for my town hall, and then play a fireball like towards the core, but where's good fireball value? Obviously you could get the revenge tower and the clan castle. I decided not to, just because for me at that time it was not enough. I didn't really have a plan where to play my fireball. Sometimes on those bases you can just one walk from like 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock, one walk, and sometimes you can get the mortar out of the way and then play your fireball, which is ideally, because mortars on the island basically, like those 2, are very annoying to deal with your smash, and most of the time you either want to one walk them or play a world champion to snipe them. Because there are so many defenses and buildings and stuff around, and I don't know where my one will go and what fireball I should play after taking on the multi-inferno, I decided not to do that and just decided to one walk from the bottom and see where my warden goes, and then fireball either the scatter shot, which is not that great value to be honest, or the builder hut if I get good pathing. And this was a tag where I just improvised completely. I had an idea where to play my fireball immediately. On those type of bases, you just start your warden walk and then you have some time to figure out a way, and you just have to adapt and be a bit more creative. Now those bases are designed to abuse the bomb wave as best as possible. As you can see here, the bomb wave is standing in the middle, and all those storages and all those directions, or like high HP buildings, make it very hard for those troops to go towards the middle, and they just get so much damage from the bomb pipe, which is insane. Because of that, it would be ideal to take it down with the fireball. That's why I wanted to play the fireball at least on the scatter shot, where I didn't get the bomb hive, but at least would get a good pathing, and the poison tower, which is a bit annoying as well. Or onto this builder hut. I decided to play my one from the bottom, just one walk and see where it goes. I played my fireball afterwards on this builder hut, and then did go with my smash around the base. I wanted to wallback on this like compartment here to just open up the walls for my queen to reach the multi, but it didn't work and I played it a bit poorly. That's why all my troops went around the multi, and I had to delay my world champion to get the multi, and then once my world champion was in the core, like from this mortar, it did go towards the fire splitter. Staying behind the fire splitter, I could just pop her ability, and when I played this fireball, like I get out of this on the builder hut, my world champion can just take out everything which is in the core, which is the fire splitter, the other fire splitter, the revenge tower, and maybe if I get lucky, even go towards the right, towards the mortar. Now, because I don't have a rage in my army composition, because I just want to abuse the rage gem as much as possible and love to have more support spells for for my smash or my warden walk or whatever. It was a bit close on time, I would say, because I warden walked like 90 seconds roughly. Again, this was an exception. I didn't have a good plan when I started the attack. Ideally, I wanted to wall break at the multi section to like get my queen towards the multi and then play my king on this side around the base and delay my world champion in behind to get this multi and the fire spitter and stuff out of the way. But I had to adapt to it because the multi didn't go down. And when the multi doesn't go down, you have to adapt because it can just melt your healers and then your smash is basically gone. Now in the end, I just overgrowth for pathing and to take down damage. I overgrowth like this because my troops were like far on this side. And as you can see, what this does is, yes, the heroes will pull the troops a bit more towards the top side, but everything that's not going to the top will go towards the revenge tower and tank that. From the timing which I created, it was just beautiful. And my king just got so much value on the outside here. Because there's not much damage for him, then it wasn't a time fill. But let's just watch it. So, as you can see, I placed my warden at like, or my loon at 2 minutes 54 seconds. So I had like 6 seconds to spare. I'm just being patient now. I want to ideally take down the wizard tower. I thought I could do that with the rocket loon because, yeah, there's otherwise no air targeting defense except the air defense. And then I used another one. And then I tried, because it's 1 HP, to snipe the wizard tower with like 1 archer. Because obviously you want to save your warden some time. And so I waited for the ricochet cannon to lock on towards my warden and the wizard tower to lock onto the booger. Used 1 archer to snipe the wizard tower out of the way. So just to, yeah, save some time. Now I'm just being patient. I definitely wanted to warden walk the monolith just because to get like some kind of pathing. Otherwise my plan was not that set into stone, as I've already mentioned during my planning phase. And I'm just being patient here. As you can see, time is ticking, already 1 minute gone. I'm now getting the monolith after exactly 1 minute. And then, because my warden locks now onto 2 defensive buildings. If I play on my fireball, I could do that, but my warden will now then move towards like those 2 buildings and like could potentially pull Teslas or traps, or could die by walking into too much damage at once. And that's why I decided I just wait, because I don't have an icebox spell. I just wait for the warden to take down those 2 defensive as well. And then I wanted to play my fireball on this builder hut. I used 3 invisibility spells. All of them are not that easy to place, or at least like this one on the left and this one on the right. But I made it, played the fireball, good value. I think I swagged my second, I swagged completely my second earthquake because I was like, wait a minute, did this get us go down with 1 earthquake or not? I just messed that up myself. And then the expo is still onto my warden, so in those cases you just either have to retarget the expo like I did with the totem, so that the healers can switch, or your warden stays alive even if the healers switch. Or you just wait for the expo to go down and like keep an eye on your warden. As I said, the wall break failed, I played it poorly, and my smash did go around the base. I just started my king early because, obviously, as you can see, there's 1 minute 15 seconds on the attack left, and 68 buildings still to go, because I only had like 32%. And this is like, Meteorgolems are not the fastest army, but you can play it quite quick if you know how. I tried to use my second wall breaker here, probably not used, like, I could have saved it because my troop launcher opened it still. And my queen was so far on the outside again that she didn't walk towards the monolith, the multi-inferno. That's why I deployed my world champion in a second towards the multi, exactly like this. As far as possible to the bottom, just so that she will most likely go towards the fire spitter and stay behind the fire spitter for the whole time. I could have just waited for my Meteorgolems to take it down, but as you can see, this multi-standing makes it so that the healers will stay on this 1 Meteorgolem and my other Meteorgolems are just taking unnecessary damage without getting healed up. And my king is doing a phenomenal job. I just try to keep everything alive. I have so many spells because I didn't invest a lot into my warden walk. I used the overgrowth to take down the damage. A beautiful skeleton spell to basically tank the whole revenge tower. And then popping my world champion in the core gives me so much value just by taking out those buildings which are like surrounded by those walls and the death zones. So this is perfect, basically. And I got a bit lucky, to be honest, that my world champion did go directly towards the multi in the end, but I got unlucky in that way that my healer stayed with my world champion and did not go towards the top where I needed them the most. And as you can see, it's still quite crushed. The only issue was here time. And if you just find a good entry or clean entry with like clear pathing for your troops, you're good to go. And that's basically the whole purpose. Now I wasn't fully convinced with my plan after I did the attack, just because if there's the Tesla farm on the bottom, you basically wall walk like 2 minutes and then you have no time left. So that's why I thought about a different plan. And what I came up with was the next time I will hit that base, I would just wall back here, play my queen and my warden for the town hall basically with an ice golem and a skeleton spell. And then I will launch my fireball on this revenge tower to get the revenge tower and the clan castle out of the way. Yes, it's not that high value fireball, but I get a good pathing, and that's what it's all about. And then after taking out the section basically and the fireball, you see there's a good pathing. Basically, if I create this one, all of this is down, and this is like, if all of this is down, it creates a beautiful pathing, like either on this side or this side. Now, because I already know that the bomb hive is killing me or could kill me just because of the setup with the fire spitters and the poison towers, I would then use my overgrowth on one fire spitter and the bomb hive, like so that my troops walk past all of that, maybe take down the multi. If not, I will just delay my world champion on that, and then go in from like this angle. Then I just cruise around the base. I can, tank beautiful with like my totems on the bottom side, the multi and the monolith, whatever. And this should work as well. That's just the plan I would play next time. But again, both plans should work, and the one you've seen works, obviously. Let's look at this base. This is a double rage box style, teaser base with the town hall quite isolated with the revenge tower, both fire spitters pointing towards the town hall, and basically all the damage and like all the buildings on the bottom left side. Now for legends, the people try to bait on defensive side basically the most likely entry. And this is the most obvious one because you only have 30 seconds to plan your attack. And for double rage bases, it's always fireball somewhere around the rage to get like at least half of the rage setup out. And then because of the fire spitters pointing both in that direction, after this fireball, for example, going in from this side, behind the fire splitter and ending on the town hall. Now if we remove all that and know now what the defender wants to have, we can look at the base a bit differently. I always look for good fireball value, which sets up a good funnel as well. What I notice here, I can just one walk the town hall. There's only the town hall guy. The revenge tower is not shooting. Those defenses are not shooting at my warden, and the fire spitters are very far on the back, like behind the town hall, so they won't deal damage as well. I can just take out the long shot, and if you have the option to do that freely, it's most of the time useful. Especially if you have like a fireball behind it. And the fireball I want to play is to take out the clan castle. How do I do that? Well, if I just go into the sweeper or the builder hut, that's great value. I can get both scatter shots, one rage, one fire spitter, and the clan castle, which is obviously good value and opens up the entry to go from this side or this side after the fireball. After figuring this out and how I want to play my fireball, I decided, let's just go for it. The only downside I have is those 3 builder huts making the warden walk longer, causing me more problems with time. So I know already I will use my king and my royal champion on the other side. So if I go with my meteorgolems from this side, I will use my king and my royal champion on this side, and vice versa. Just because those 3 builder huts are really keeping your warden up and like healing those buildings so much that you have like 30 seconds more with your warden walk. Now the question is, I only have 4 Invis belts. How do I get the fireball as cheap as possible towards one of those 2 buildings? Well, if I take out 1 mortar on the outside, I see that I can use 3 invisibility spells, like so. And this is not that easy one, but you can play this for those 2 buildings, and just play my fireball on one of the sweeper or the build art. And I don't even have to use an icebox spell because my warden has enough buildings with the town hall and those 2 storages where you can lock on, and I can use my invisibility spells behind it. So that's really the anchor point for my warden. Now when I played this fireball, I obviously don't get the storages out of the way, which I already mentioned. But in my case, not that big of a problem, because when I go from this side, the storages are not hurting my pathing. Obviously, they make it a bit wider, like the troops can go here, here, here. But I still have an overgrowth left, so that the troops are going closer together. Now, the crucial part about this setup with the Fireball and the Warnwalk is to get at least this Revenge Tower out, and then either those two builder huts or this one builder hut with the storage. Now you may ask why. Well, if I don't get that out and just leave those buildings up here in the core, when I then go in with my Meteorgolems from this side, my queen can reach those buildings, and if I'm unlucky, my Meteorgolems will throw themselves towards the core. Then they could hear the Stealers, they could split, and when they are one time in this tunnel compartment, they will move to the other side as well. So I have to keep in mind the pathing for my Meteorgolems. So that's why it's mandatory on this attack that you need to take out either this or all of this with the Warnwalk. And after the setup, it's basically pretty easy. You get one tunnel section out of the way, the Fireball, like all of this is gone, and then you have a beautiful funnel. You can just deploy your Meteorgolems on this side, moving around the base. I don't want to go into the rage setup with my Meteorgolems early, just because my Warden funneled the bottom side here of this tunnel compartment out, and if I go from the top, those buildings are hurting my pathing. That's why I decided to play my Meteorgolems where the red arrow is, and where the yellow arrow is, I will deploy my king and my royal champion. Now with the Overgrowth, I get two parts at the same time. Obviously my heroes will take a lot of damage if they move around this side with the king and the royal champion, because there's a raged fire splitter, there's a multi, a queen, like all the rage setup on the back end as well. So how can I assure that my heroes live as long as possible? I just use an Overgrowth. If I overgrowth all of this, what do I create? I create a more narrow pathing for my troops to move like towards this side for my Meteorgolems. And what I create as well, I can use totems or skeleton spells more precisely on the screen, because the multi is gone for now with the Overgrowth. My royal champion gets less damage, the rage won't trigger, and the rage will trigger then when my king and my royal champion were standing close to the rage, so I can just pop both of their abilities and the rage is basically useless. Now that's the plan that goes all into my mind when I just have those 30 seconds and I know what I want to do and I see like all the details that I have to consider. So now let's just watch it. And as you can see, I'm pausing at 3 minutes and 2 seconds, and you will see that my Warden, it was close on time, that I will deploy my Warden like shortly after the 3 minutes mark, like the Archer, just to lure out the Guardian one tile basically. And here I'm deciding I want to save my Sneezy, so I just Totem because the Longshot deals damage on my Sneezy with the splash. Bit unlucky, but basically, yeah, one spell that I had to invest here to save my Sneezy. And as you can see, I'm just letting my Warden snipe the Town Hall, and those 3 builder huts are now healing the Town Hall. Take out the mortar on the right with some rocket loons. And now, because my Warden has like an anchor, I can just use some invisibility spells, like so, play the Fireball. And I noticed that all the builder huts are basically behind the Town Hall, or like way on the outside for the rage setup. So I can just split my Earthquakes, because the Scattershot only need 1 Earthquake and the Fire Splitter as well. I can't get both of the Scattershot and the Fire Splitter with 1 Earthquake, that's why I would split them a bit. Both hitting the Clan Castle, and I get everything out. And obviously, as you can see, the storages are here like damaged, but not taken down completely. And now, this is the problem. Builder huts, and I just need to take down the Revenge Tower in at least one of the builder huts. And I will just wait for that, I'm patient, and as you can see, already 1 minute passed, and my Warden is still stuck on the Revenge Tower. I probably swagged, or wouldn't have needed both of those totem spells which are used in the Town Hall compartment, but it's fine, better be safe than sorry. Keeping your Warden alive is very important, just because of the Rage Gem. And as you can see, I'm deploying already my Ice Golem to take my Warden, to take the Ricochet Cannon, because when I want to pull my Warden, it is most likely that the Ricochet Cannon will target my Warden when I pull from the top here, where I want to deploy my troops. I want to deploy my troops as close as possible to the Rage Gem, like from the aura, which is basically the circle here, so that my Warden gets pulled. Now I did that, as you can see, and my Warden follows, and the Ricochet Cannon is already locked into the Ice Golem, so my Warden stays safe, and the healers will switch pretty quickly onto my Queen and my Meteor Golems. Now I just move around the base. I don't need a Lock Launcher, because obviously the Lock Launcher targets the Town Hall. It would be dumb to play the Lock Launcher. So I would just use the Tube Launcher, and in my Tube Launcher I have some more Loons and some Minions as well, and a Meteor Golem, which just help, my push to protect my healers, especially with the Loons and stuff. And the Meteor Golems just gives another optional, or like force improvement. And then I will deploy my King and my World Champion on the side, and as I said, the Overgrowth, to like push everything towards the Bomb Hive and the Monolith, like from this side, and to reduce the damage for my heroes. And as you can see, the Skeleton Spell beautiful to tank the Queen, and to aggro the King like on the same spot. My World Champion jumps a bit towards the Builder Huts, which is fine. She will jump back towards the outside. And I know I have now 3 spells left. I swagged 2 of them, I believe. I just popped my World Champion because I knew when the Rage setup is, like when the Overgrowth expires, I want her to take it out as quickly as possible, the multi, and basically, the Fire Spitter as well. That's why I popped her. And as you can see, I waited for my King to take out this building so that the Spiky Ball goes towards the Rage setup. And then basically the Rage setup is instantly gone. And I swagged like 1 totem there for my King. I placed it way too early, so that's why my Champion will die in the end. But as you can see, it's a complete overkill. My healers are doing nothing on my Queen and my Warden, as usual. That's why it's getting close on time as well. But as you can see, there's still so many Meteor Golems alive. It's still pretty crushed. And if you just keep your World Champion or your Queen with your Warden alive, by just not swagging those spells, you have an even bigger overkill. And as you can see, there are like 4.5 Meteor Golems from 5, which I have, with like 4 in my main army and 1 in my clan castle, and this is pretty crushed. Now this is a very creative anti-3 base, and on those type of bases, what you could do, use an archer with an invisibility spell to trigger the Invis, play a Queen with your Warden again for the Town Hall, play a Fireball somewhere behind the Town Hall, probably on the Fire Spitter or whatever, and then going in from the other side with your Meteor Golems. Could be an option. But what I noticed here on this base, you have to keep in mind the Fireball range. As I've said, just check out the Fireball guide. There's the exact Fireball range you have, with like level 24 or higher or below. But if I go into this Builder Hut with my Fireball, let me screenshot it, I get all of this out, which is beautiful value. I get 2 multis, I get a Rage, I get a Revenge Tower, and the Bomb Hive. Like the Revenge Tower and the Bomb Hive are like those defenses which hurt me the most when I play Meteor Golems. So getting that out is pretty insane. And it's just, if you play a Warden from here, if you take down this Modder with your Warden Walk, it's just 1 Invis and a second one and a third one on this. Just for clarification, I will take down this Modder with my Warden with a different color, and then I just play my Fireball. Obviously you have to keep in mind that you have to play your Earthquakes a bit differently, because 3 Builder Huts are on the Revenge Tower, theoretically. So if you want to take that down deliberately, make sure that not a single Builder Hut is targeting the Revenge Tower. So my first Earthquake goes like this. Those 2 Builder Huts on the bottom basically heal themselves up, and this Builder Hut on the top will move either towards the Rage Tower or the other Builder Hut, because they got damaged, and not towards the Revenge Tower. And my second Earthquake, I will deploy a bit more towards the top to definitely get the second multi out of the way. And then if I get this pathing, all of this out, I can just move from either way around the base. I decided to go from the top, play with my Lock Launcher to open like all the walls. Here it is very useful. And then use my King and my World Champion from this side somewhere to push the troops towards the core. You can use your King and World Champion like straight from 3 o'clock. What I decided to do is deploy my World Champion from this side with a good skeleton to tank the Monolith, and then try to just play my King there to get most of the defenses out of the way already. And this was beautiful. And then just overgrowthing on this back end so that my troops will definitely go directly towards the tunnel from the core and end on the back end. Let's just watch the attack and see how that went. As you can see, 3, 2, 1. I deploy a Cocoloon just so that my Sneezy stays safe. Deploy my Warden, take my time, And when my warden hits a non-defensive building, after the mortar, I will just deploy quickly my Invis spells and play my Fireball. Like so, the warden targets the laboratory, deploy my Invis, play my Fireball. As you can see, the first Earthquake to damage those 2 builder huts and the Rage Tower to like distract all the builder huts, and then the other one a bit different. I didn't get the Archer Tower with the Earthquakes, but it's fine because my warden just 2-shots it. And then after that, I think I decided to walk the Wizard Tower with it, exactly. And then just one walking towards the top. Like pulling my one towards the top, not one walking towards the top. With my Meteorgolems all in there and just moving around the base. I will do it ×2 because it is not a complicated attack afterwards. Using my Lock Launcher, I did play it a bit more towards the left, like quite early, just because I thought that my queen wouldn't go towards the multi on her own. But she did go through that opening at the top, which was fine. Otherwise, I would have deployed my Lock Launcher a bit more towards the right, like over the Tesla using it. So to open just as many wards as possible. And while champion on this side, oh, I did use my skeleton on the monolith. Okay, I did use that. A bit unlucky that my world champion got sniped still. As you can see, one Invis and an archer triggers the invisibility spell. It's a very nice trick if you have the spell for that. And then just using my king there on the bottom with the totem spell to like instant spiky ball to get all those defenses out of the way. And as you can see, the troops are splitting, but because of the fireball and the pathing you have set, it's such an overkill still either way that you cannot mess that up after the fireball and after you basically started your smash. And there's like, it looks a bit close, but as you can see, there are so many Meteorgolems, the left and the queen and the warrior champion and the giant. It's pretty crushed. Now, because the guide is already very long, I will go quickly over the bases now coming up here. And those are stream VODs where I just do a voiceover. On those bases where you have like an isolated town hall with the core rage setup, like on this base, you want to fireball one section of the rage setup. That's for sure. And for that, you can use your overgrowth to set a funnel. As you see here, I'm just overgrowthing one side, playing my warden. I did it into the air defense deliberately so that my Sneezy won't pull the clan caster. 2 Invis, fireball towards the core, double earthquake. And then as you can see, good value, and I have a good pathing now set. And when I go now towards the right, putting my warden there, use a skeleton or the Meteorgolems and stuff, and just use the Lock Launcher to like open deliberately the walls I want to open for my queen and my Meteorgolems so that they can walk in this channel between like the town hall and those fire spitters. Then it's just basically GG. As you can see, the Lock Launcher coming in from the right. I use my king on the top so that he just pushes my troops towards the core. And then I will delay my world champion here a bit, deploying her now so that my troops are pushed even further towards the town hall. I use my king spiky ball quite early because I saw a great lineup with like getting damage on all those defenses where my world champion will go. And then you basically just move around the base, and you have most of the time some Invis spells, some totem spells, or general protection spells, small spells for your heroes left. And you just use them, and as you can see, it's a complete overkill. And yeah, those Cocoloons in the core even triggering the red bombs. And when you get the fireball towards the core, you most of the time cannot even fail this attack, even when you lose your warden. Like on most bases, sometimes you can even lose your warden, and then yeah, you're pretty good to go, even without him, just because the fireball is so strong and gets so much value and such a good pathing. And you can see still a lot of time to spare, over 1 minute, and a swag spell with everything alive. Let me give you my thought process. I will just analyze it for you so you will understand what I did. So obviously, I will look at first for the fireball on the rage setup. Yeah, looks good, but you need at least 3 invisibility spells and a bit rough. Getting from this side, where the wand is safe, basically towards the rage, it's a long way. So I looked on this expo, and this expo gives me this archer tower again, like this one, at least 1 builder hut, the rage, and like a lot of stuff basically, right? And it sets a good pathing. So I chose to hit this one. Because my warden is like pretty safe, I can drop to Invis and then I'm good. If I play my warden here, my warden has a long way to walk and has a chance to like walk in towards the fire spitter or like early into the bomb pipe or the long shot. So I tried to play my warden as far as possible to this side. And then I was like, yeah, just going in from the bottom, lock launcher, opening the wall. Then in the core I have one earthquake because I don't need it with the fireball. And then king and world champion on the outside and overgrowth something on the back end. Now the analysis you heard was just from the stream VOD. Now I'm doing a voiceover of the actual attack. And as you can see, quick fireball testing with some archers for Teslas. That's always important. And then I almost deployed my healers a bit too late, but it's still fine. And as you can see, Sneezy is taking damage from the Super Wizard Tower. Just, you have to keep that in mind. And then you don't have to wall walk a lot. You could delay your warden and walk a bit, like warden walk a bit longer and then deploy your troops a bit, more towards the bottom. But it's still fine if you just pull with your queen. I always recommend pulling with your queen. I see some Teslas popping up. That's why I have some rocket loons to snipe them out. They are just there to annoy you with the pathing. Like, because this is an easy fireball and probably one of the most likeliest on those bases. That's why I'm standing there. I used the skeleton spell to block the bomb dive shots, lock launcher and king from the bottom. And yeah, I used, I think, one earthquake spell in the core, which I had left from the fireball. I could have used it a bit more towards the bottom to open up the walls quicker. That's also a good way of how to use your earthquake spells if you don't need them with the fireball. And then you can see some troops are going in the middle, which is fine. Some troops are going on the outside. And that's all completely fine. Here I just show you the Tesla spots, which are on the left and on the right side as well. Like there. And yeah, I mean, I just overgrowth the back and rage setup so that the rage doesn't pop early, so that my king and my world champion can take down the defenses more towards the front, where they go early, can then take them down and don't do so much damage. And then when the rage pops, I can just use one of my spells to protect it, or they won't do that much damage. I'm a bit scared. I was a bit scared about my world champion because I used here an invisibility spell. She did go in towards the Giga Bomb. It was very close that this invisibility spell covered her, but it was still fine. And then it can be quite close in the end, but normally if you play it right and if you have good healers, it should work. And as you can see, there's still the whole giant left and some meteor golems and the queen and the warden. So even though it looks quite close, it works in 90% of the 90% of the attacks just by doing it like this. Now when I go into this next base, you see there's an isolated town hall with an Invis. And on those type of bases, you just want to play a lock launcher for the town hall. You just trade one-on-one the lock launcher for the town hall and the long shot, and it's basically GG. I notice I can play my fireball on the multi, which they are selected, and this is easy fireball value. I think I only need one Invis spell for that, and it sets up a good pathing. So always test with an archer for some Teslas. I will distract the long shot so that my warden stays safe when I play the fireball. Quick fireball. Then I will wait a bit for my warden to take out some more defenses. For Super Wizard Towers, you have to be careful with your healer placement, because if you place them too close to your warden, they will get damage from the Super Wizard Tower and could go down. And here, I didn't play it very good. Normally, you want to have the long shot lined up between the town hall and the lock launcher, so that it will always get damaged by those logs coming out of the lock launcher. But here, I used another totem because the long shot was locked onto my healers. My warden took out the long shot, and then I just go in with my smash around the base. My meteor golem from the town, from the lock launcher, takes down the town hall, and then you have so many spells left just because the setup was so quick. And as you can see, I still have one earthquake spell. So if you know what type of buildings only use one earthquake spell, this is mentioned in the Fireball guide if you want to check that out. That's really helpful especially if you want to use the lock launcher, because you can damage buildings in the core or keep builder huts busy just by using one Earthquake spell for your lock launcher. Here I didn't need that for that, because there was only one invisibility spell tower at the town hall. And as you can see, it just moves around the base, everything's staying together, and it's just like a wave that cannot be stopped once you keep it going and just use some of your support spells to get everything together and protect it. And you can see Warrior Champion clearing up everything on the bottom. There are so many troops in this rage section, and even though it was a complete rage section and the CC was there to slow down the troops, it's still a complete overkill. I still have 3 invisibility spells left, and that's how you do it. If you have, that works as well for anti-2-star bases. If you have an isolated town hall, just trade the town hall with a lock launcher one-on-one and move around the base with your meteor golems. So that's the easiest way. And if you have time problems, use King and Warrior Champion on the other side. Now the last base I want to cover is a typical diamond style double poison base, and you just look for some kind of fireball value on a corner, like for example here at 3 or 9 o'clock. Most of the time adjacent, close towards the town hall, not directly on the town hall side, but close towards the town hall. So not far side. Sometimes far side even works, but you have to have very good fireball value. But most of the time on one corner, which is close enough to the town hall. So here at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Now from this point of view, you can just go in towards the town hall or far side. I decide here to go on the far side, basically, with my smash, because I get the revenge tower early, the clan castle out early, and I don't have to fight the fire splitters. That's why I chose to do that. I'm using here my skeleton spell to block the bomb pipe shots. You always have to be careful about the bomb pipe and killing your healers or damaging your warden or your queen. So just make sure to keep that in mind. And then use your meteor golems, the king on the outside to funnel, and then protect your lock launcher. That's very important. On far side entries, you want to protect your lock launcher as best as possible, because this is the instance that opens up the wall for the queen. And I didn't need to play my Warrior Champion immediately, just because my king was kind of quick and stuff. And that's why I delayed her a bit, playing her now. When you can, just delay your Warrior Champion. It's just safer. And then you just move around through the core, look at the lock launcher opening all the walls, and then you have still one overgrowth, most of the time used for the basically back-end towner section to take out the long shot, and if there are some heroes, the heroes as well, before the rest of the defense wake up again. And yeah, I mean, it's in the end just keeping your heroes alive. That's basically the key principle you have to keep in mind. When you do that and be quite efficient with your spells, you have a very good chance of tripling bases. Now here, using one invisibility spell for the Warrior Champion, my queen takes out the guardian, the long shot, and from this point of view, it's just, it's crushed. It looks a bit close, but I would say this triples in at least 9 out of 10 attacks with this execution, and clean execution with clean pathing it was, and that's why it triples. Even with the swag invisibility spell at the top, as you can see, this is how it works. After understanding how this army works, make sure to try it out yourself. If you like this form of content, feel free to subscribe. And if you want even more, you can book a private coaching session on Blueprint with me. The link to that is in the description. And that's all from my side.